When I built my first inventory management system for a client, it took me way longer than it should have. We're talking probably 12 hours to set up the databases in Airtable, create the interface for the front end, connect the automations, and make it actually look good and function like a real tool. But recently, I rebuilt the whole thing using Softr's new AI Co-builder, and it took me less than 1/10 of the time, literally minutes instead of hours. Softr is one of the most useful tools for consultants and builders right now. It lets you go from idea to working system crazy fast, and no need for N8N or Supabase or APIs. The front end, the database, and user roles, all in one and all built with natural language. And that helps you build for clients fast and get paid fast. If you want to land your first or next AI client, you can take part in the 4-week challenge inside my free school community of like-minded people, where you'll find a free course that's honestly better than most paid courses out there, and you'll get direct one-on-one access to me for whatever questions you may have. The link is down below. So let me walk you through exactly how I rebuilt the system. Let's dive in. Okay, so let me first show you what I built in Airtable about 10 months ago. This is when I was working at my 9-to-5 job for an insulation company. So if you're wondering why all this stuff is insulation related, but basically I had to set up multiple databases. So everything that was in inventory, had to manually insert everything for the number in inventory, the reorder threshold, the type, and then this is calculated based on if the reorder threshold has been met. So if the number in inventory is lower than the reorder threshold. And then I had to also create an output database. So this is anything that needs to be reordered, anything that has been reordered. And that's just basically to create a record of it. Then I had to actually go in and create automations so that whenever a record matches a certain condition, it's going to send an email. And so that was just another step that I had to take. Lastly, I had to create the actual interface. So this is all things I was doing manually. And so anything that shows up on the needs to be reordered interface is just visually available to the production manager at the time so that he knew to reorder something. Okay, so let's close out of that. And we're going to head over to Softr. So like I said, the new AI Co-builder is just the easiest thing to use. So I'm just going to describe what I built before with Airtable and use natural language, and you can see kind of what the process looks like. Okay, so I'm saying I want to create an inventory management system for an insulation company. We will need names of items in inventory, like bags of cellulose insulation, bags of fiberglass insulation, cans of foam, etc. The quantity, the reorder threshold, which is the minimum number that we can have on hand before we need to reorder. There should be 2 groups for permissions, an admin, which was the production manager, and a user, which was all of the other teammates. The admin will be able to add new products to the inventory list and change the reorder threshold. Users will just be able to change the quantity. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and send that off. And then on the left-hand side, we can see the AI Co-builder is going to prompt us with some information that it needs in order to build out this app in the most streamlined and efficient way possible. So do you want to track inventory by location or as one combined stock count? And so I'm going to say one combined stock count, but that's super convenient that if you have multiple locations, then you can actually track it by like store or warehouse or truck or whatever it is. And then how should quantity be updated? So manual adjustments only, adjustments with a reason, or both. And I'm going to just go with manual adjustments only. And then do you need low stock alerts when an item drops below the reorder threshold? So again, super important. Like this is critical so that we're not ordering stuff that we don't need, or we're actually ordering the stuff before we get to that critical point where we're almost out. So I'm going to say yes to low stock alerts. Okay, and now it's asking how users will log in. So I'm going to just say email and click continue. And can people sign up on their own? I'm going to just say no, I'll invite my users. The reason being is we would have temporary workers and stuff like that. And so we don't just want people to sign up on their own willy-nilly. We want to be able to invite them. So I will click continue, and I'm going to leave the layout as is on the left-hand side for desktop and the bottom for mobile. All right. And let's pick a nice, beautiful theme. I'm going to go with Fjord. Okay, and then I will click create your app. Okay, so it's saying I'm going to create inventory management app for an insulation company to track products and stock levels in one combined inventory count. So it's going to have an inventory list with item name, quantity, and reorder threshold. Admins can add new products and update reorder thresholds. Users can just update quantities through manual adjustments. And then they can see low stock items when the quantity drops below that reorder threshold. And so now it's going through and creating those permissions for users and admins and setting up all of the different things that took me literally hours to do in Airtable before. So right now it's creating all these different pages. And so what's really cool about this is going to function exactly like a regular web app that you would log into. So it's going to have like the login page, the home page, a 404 page, everything that you don't necessarily think about or want to think about when you're building something like this for a business. It's handling it all automatically. And this is actually really helpful that it added that note section where it's like, this is located in the closet upstairs or something like that. That's actually something that really would have been valuable at the time when I was working for the installation company, because sometimes you would have things in random places or different shelves in the warehouse that were labeled. And so if you actually knew where the item was, it would just make it so much faster to go grab it rather than be searching all around the warehouse. Okay, and in just a few minutes, it's already done. So I'm gonna click try it live and check it out. Okay, so I can just see at a glance that I have a total of 8 items in inventory and 2 that are low stock. I also have 2 different tabs here. One is showing like the complete list, like the complete overview of what's in inventory, and then one that shows items that are low stock that need to be reordered. And something that I want to change in terms of how this can be filtered is I want to actually change this by the item name, because that's, you know, way more valuable. That I can just come in here, and if I have a long list of stuff that needs to be reordered, that I could just come in here and search for the item instead of the unit that it's measured in. So for example, if we're out of, you know, bags of insulation, I want to be able to type in insulation and have it pop up, or whatever the case is. So let's go ahead and make this change to change this drop down menu from units to the actual names of the item. So I actually want to change the drop down from unit to item name, both on the inventory tab and on the low stock tab. Okay, so let's send that off and see what the co-builder comes back with. All right, so let's check out the preview and see if that fixed it for us. All right, so basically I can type in here and do the search that way. So rather than having it be a long list, it's just going to be something that I can filter through the search here. All right, now let's test out some additional functionality. So up here at the top is pretty cool because you can see what it's actually going to look like if you are, for example, a non-logged in user. So if I'm not logged in, it's going to be a login page. So I'm going to have to enter my email and then go ahead and log in, which is to be expected. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it will look like if I am an admin. Okay, so I have access to all of the same information. If I right click right here, I can open this item and then I can come in and delete this. So if I need to change the name for whatever reason, the quantity, the unit, or the reorder threshold, then I can do that. I can also update the notes. So again, this could be something like, hey, check shelf G4 in the warehouse, or, you know, check the back of the box truck, whatever the case is. But that is admin permission, so that means only admins can do that. Like users can't just come in and mess everything up, essentially. All right, now I'm gonna ask it to do one more thing. All right, so now I'm asking, can you tell me how the notifications will pop up whenever there's an item that's low in stock? Okay, so now it's saying if you want an actual notification, like an email, go to the workflow assistant and get that set up. So let's head over to, let's publish this real quick just so that it's saved. Click I'll do that later. And let's head over to workflows. So I'm going to click create. My trigger is going to be Softr databases and when a record meets conditions. So I'm going to go to installation inventory management here on the right. If you've ever used N8N before, you probably are familiar with how this works, but we have a trigger that's going to kick off this workflow for us. And now I'm going to select inventory items from my table, because whenever something is low stock, I want to send an email to the production manager, whoever is responsible for reordering that item. So I'm going to click add a condition. Okay, so now I'm going to change this to if low stock is true, that's the condition that it's going to meet. So whenever something is low stock, then it's going to immediately generate an email. So I'll click continue. Let's test something. And I do have one item that is the can of black beans that is critically low. So perfect. We know that that's working. All right. And next I'm going to add this little plus sign and we're going to add an action. And I'm going to select send an email. So I have my email account connected down here, but you can just use the test account for test purposes. And if you want to see how to connect your email account, I'm going to link the video that I created last week and you can check that out, which walks you through that step by step. Okay. I'm just going to send it to myself for the purposes of this test. And I'm going to say low stock. And I'm gonna click this little @ symbol, and we're gonna put the item name in here so that it's gonna change dynamically according to what record met that condition. Okay, and then the body of the email is just gonna say this item is low, please reorder ASAP. And then I'm going to say item, quantity, and reorder threshold. For the item, I'm going to click the little @ symbol again to dynamically map. So this is going to be black beans. The quantity is at 3 and the reorder threshold is right here, and that's at 10. So that's just going to let the person who's doing the ordering know exactly how many we have on hand and what the situation is. Okay, I don't need to copy anybody. I don't need to attach anything, so I'm just going to click continue. All right, something that's really cool about this and something I wish other platforms had is you can actually do a mock test versus a real test. So I'm going to go ahead and do a real test so I can actually receive the email myself and make sure that it came through. But I think it's really cool that you could do a mock test, so it's like actually testing the connection and making sure that it will work without you having to send an email to yourself or accidentally send an email to your client. All right, so I'm gonna click test. It says success down below. And as you can see, I got this email. This item is low, it's black beans. We have 3 on hand and the reorder threshold is 10. So now we know it works. And then the last step is I would just need to click turn on and hit publish. And now it's ready to go. All right, so now we came back to our app. Let's give it one more look over and click publish. And now I can actually connect it to a custom domain if I were so inclined. But this is actually ready to share with coworkers or a teammate or a client, whoever, if they don't care about using a subdomain from Softr. But you can also just connect a domain that you buy or pay for. But if we open it up with that link, here we are. And so I can go ahead and log in. I can make change to this image. So I can have like the image of the company or something that's relevant to them instead of just something that's beautiful. All right, so now my app is published. I have it connected to a workflow that's actually going to take a real world action and send an email whenever the inventory quantity gets low. And I did that all in a matter of minutes, as opposed to doing it in 12 hours, having to do everything by hand using Airtable. All right, so that's the full build. What used to take me dozens of hours now takes a fraction of that. And honestly, the output looks better too. If you want to test out Softr's new AI Co-builder and see all the cool things that you can build for clients, check out the link in the description. You'll get 200 free credits to try it out yourself. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.